Hi, I just thought I'd show you how to back a painting on rice paper. I've shown you before, but it all went wrong, so let's hope this one works. Okay, so I'm just angling the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. So the first thing we do to do a rice paper painting, as you can see, rice paper is very, very fine. As soon as it gets wet, it's like trying to manipulate blue paper, so it's really fine. So we can't just back it like that. We have to frame it like that. We have to back it. So to do that, the first thing we must do is make sure the area is really clean. And any bit of paint, even a small piece like this, will go through onto the artwork. So it has to be meticulously clean. And I've already scrubbed it a couple of times, but I can see I've missed a couple, so there we go. Okay. We then have to do a few crazy things. So the first crazy thing is this is just a mock-up painting here with some rocks. So the first thing we do is we put it upside down and get it wet. So hopefully I won't get my laptop wet. So just guard it from the laptop. And as you can see, just by touching it, it's torn already. So and see how easily it tears. So we have to be extra careful. I might not be able to do this one. Some are just so delicate, it's impossible to do anything with them. So where this has had lots of paint and ink on it, this one might be too delicate. I think it might be. As you can see, it does have holes in it. This one might not be okay to do, but we'll give it a go. You'll see how difficult it is, and perhaps help people understand why any paintings on rice paper are slightly more expensive. Actually, you can see some of the paint is coming out. Just have to get all the wrinkle coming up there. I've got a feeling this one isn't going to go to work, but we'll give it a go just so that you can see how difficult it is, and then I'll do one that I know will work because I've kept one by. As you can see, my brush has started picking up some of the paint, which isn't good. The next thing we do, we make sure we have a piece of paper to put over it that is the right same size. As you can see here, some of it has actually, all these wrinkles should have gone, and as you can see, it's just too delicate, this one. It's been soaked with so many different layers of paint. I don't think it's going to work, but I'm going to have a go anyway. So the first thing we do, we've flattened it down. We've got all the wrinkles out, but as you can see, I haven't. So I'm just going to give this one a test one, just so you can see how it fails miserably. So you put wallpaper paste. You can use the authentic rice paste or something like that, but this is what I'm using today. As you can see, I'm whizzing through it because I don't need to get bored. Just going to clean up around it. So I've got the wallpaper paste on. As you can see, there's wrinkles in it. It's tearing, and even if I've done some of my paintings actually get lost due to this. So I've put my paste over it. I then carefully lay one on top. As you can see, it shows me all the wrinkles I've missed. And again, just give it a wet. And after I've cleaned my brush, because I don't want that everywhere, then carefully get rid of all the bubbles and wrinkles. Now, it hasn't gone too bad on top, but I shall turn it over and show you how bad it is underneath. So it looks a bit crazy, but that's worked. All the rice paper, it has to be slightly bigger. As you can see, you'll see why in a minute, because in a minute I'm going to have to put it on a piece of card stick it to something to make it a little bit safer. I'll just put some glue around the edge. So this is a terrible fail. You can see this one completely failed, but that's okay. I've only put the glue around the edge. Then I'm going to peel it up and put it on some card. And actually I've got a board here I'm going to use and put it on. I'll just put this out the way. So I need to lift this up now. Use my dry brush, this one here. So this is the one I've made sure it's all nice and flat, and I would have got out all the bubbles. As you can see, I would have spent a lot more time. Sometimes it can take half an hour, but I'm doing this quickly so you understand. I need to just lift one corner, as you can see, as I lift it up. And then with the glue around the edge, I will stick it on a board. And as the glue is on there, whoa, once it's down, it's down. As the glue is on there, it should just go nice and flat. So that's how to back a painting in rice paper. As you can see, that was quite a miraculous fail because it's all torn. You can see here it's torn, and there's wrinkles, it's torn here. So this one would have been an epic fail, even though it probably took me quite a few hours to paint that. The painting is lost. So that's no good. That will then take a few weeks to dry. So when you do a painting, you have to let it dry. When you finish your painting, let it dry for a couple of weeks so it's thoroughly dry, and then you can back it and leave it again for a couple of days to a week to dry. As you can see, it's actually left some paint behind. So again, paintings can be ruined just doing this backing process, but they have to be backed, otherwise you cannot frame them at all. So there we go. We start again. I'm going to use a very small piece, just so that you can see how it's done properly. So here's my very tiny piece. Okay, I know this one will be okay. It's clean enough. It's still a bit stained, but I think it'll be okay. So again, I'll make sure I've got a piece of paper that is slightly bigger all the way around, because we have to stick it back down to something. So the first thing we do, we've cleaned up. We again spray. And this one, and as you can see, it's got creases and everything on it, but that's okay. Use our brush, and this time we're flattening it down. As you can see, it's working much better, this one, because there's less paint. So it's been wet a few times less, so it actually flattens down nicely. It's just a piece of bamboo picture that I was experimenting with a while back. Clean up around it. And again, do remember what I did. So I've made sure it's nice and flat. There's no creases, there's no hair bubbles. Okay, now I'm going to put my paste on. And this is just, you can use different pastes. It's shown as long as it's fungal resistant, this paste would work. I'll just put the paste on, just slightly over the edge, because I do want to stick it right to the edge of my paper. And then I've got the same paper again. Okay, and it's slightly bigger, as I said. And we carefully place it down. Cool. It doesn't have any... You don't want any creases, because that will affect the painting itself underneath. Now that's gone a lot better, hasn't it? Nice and stuck down. So now we've got that bit down. This is around the edge. So we've got something to stick it to. I'm whizzing through this. I would, obviously big paintings take a lot longer. My large cat took me nearly an hour to do this, to get every crease out. And if you'd have watched Mysteries of the Museum, you would have seen them doing the same thing with antique one. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to peel it off and stick it to the spare board here, and that's what I'm going to stick it to. So it's easy to peel off. So that's what I do. I just go for one corner. I hope I haven't left any of the painting behind. And this time, as you can see, I haven't. I've glued around the edge, remember. Oh no, can you see? I've left a little bit behind. Just get rid of that before I go further. So I need something plastic. I sometimes stick it to cupboard doors on the inside, like kitchen cupboards, but I use my art cupboards. I then place it down. Once it's down, and gradually paint it. Make sure there's no creases. As you can see, it's run. So this could be another failure. Not a lot I can do when that happens, but it's probably where I had the paint too thick here, and that's why it's run. So obviously when you're getting a picture wet, that's what happens. But I'm doing this because I need to see what happens. So I get that. You see, all this is not a lot I can do there. Sometimes I can take it out, but mostly with waste paper, once it's done, it's done. There's not a lot you can do. So I'm just going to have to just redo that corner. As you can see, it's bubbling. And what I could do with this one is I could make sure that I chop off the bottom perhaps when I, so that sometimes I can save a picture. As you can see here, the paint was obviously too thick, and that's why I haven't used it. So I knew when I was painting it, when I backed it, it would have smeared everywhere. So I could have glued the paint down, perhaps with some alum, but in this case I've just left it just as an experimental piece. So this will take a week or so to dry, and when it's dried, I'll be able to peel it off and back it, use it as a frame it quite safely. So that's that done. I think it showed you just how delicate my artwork is, and how crazy I must be to paint on something like glue paper. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me. Do let people know that rice paper is absolutely beautiful to paint on, and sometimes you get some great paintings. And here's one of my experiments. So you can get some really great delicate work done with rice paper. You can get some great effects like this with rocks and stuff, but it's not very forgiving. You make a mistake and that's it, done. And as you can see, I had to give up with this one, hole in it. And similar to the other one, I now know just backing it, it will fail because it's had so many layers of paint on it. So thank you for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed watching how to back rice paper painting, and hopefully you'll see some of my artwork at the B. Robinson Artist. Thank you very much. Bye. I don't know how to stop the recording.